Hi, this is the review of the literature assignment overview. Okay, so the assignment objective is going to be to look at literature, locate and identify literature sources. Now this assignment, you will have had your annotated bibliography completed and feedback on that, so that will help you with this assignment quite a bit. You're basically going to take the information that you got from that bibliography and you're going to synthesize it. It's really important that you understand that when you're doing this review of the literature. It's not about giving a longer description of each study. When you did the annotated bibliography, you're basically giving me a short summary of every study, all your sources. But now you need to take that a step further. I want you to make connections. I want you to synthesize things. So if you're looking through your resources and you're seeing, okay, these 3 different researchers all were looking at the problem in a similar way, I want you to combine that information. I want you to talk about what was common among all of those, the 3 researchers. So for this, you really are, if you think about blooms, you're going to a pretty high level of blooms here. You're not just expanding in a linear, I'm doing this study and then this study and then this study. Put it together, combine it. What are the new ideas? What do you come away with? You might compare and contrast. I have some links on Blackboard that you can go to and get some more information about the review of the lit, what it looks like, what's expected. This is probably going to be the assignment that you most want a minimum length. You're probably going to want, how many pages do you want? I don't know. The length of this assignment is going to depend based on your topic, how much research you have, your personal writing style. I do value concise over droning. You don't get bonus points for having an extra long paper. If you can say it in 3 pages, I'd rather read it in 3 pages than 5. So be concise as possible, but make sure you make your connections. Don't worry about having it be super short. You wanna make the connections. It's very important that you do that. That's where your learning is really going to come in, is by looking at the research and putting all that together. Your paper also needs to be really clearly organized and have a coherent flow. So when I read your paper, it should really naturally flow from one paragraph to the next, one idea to the next. That's not just, you don't want to be all choppy, where it's, here's one idea, and then you're shifting gears totally to another idea. Link those together. Make it so that you're talking about one thing, and it naturally leads to the next part of your paper. All right, let's look at the rubric. First of all, these are the parts to your review of the literature. You're going to have discussion, in-depth discussion of the history of the problem and the research base. So you're really telling me, like, what's the history? What is behind this thing that you chose? I used positive behavior support as an example for a previous assignment. I'm going to use that again. If I was writing a review of the literature on PBIS, I need to talk about the history of PBIS. Where did it come from? What's the background here? Did somebody just make it up one day? Did it evolve? What happened? And so I would want to really talk about the history there. I also want to talk about what's going on right now. What is the current research? So obviously PBIS is pretty broad. I'd have to narrow it down quite a bit. But I would need to talk about what's been done, what's going on. That's really important. You want to go beyond history and talk about current research. Sometimes you'll find that there's a hole in the research. I had a research topic that I was working on myself a few months ago, and I found hardly anything. There really isn't a lot of research out there. That tells me it's something important that I am going to want to follow up on, because not a lot of people have looked at this problem. So you might find that when you're looking at the research. You might find that there's a ton of research out there. You might find that in the particular aspect that you're looking at, there really isn't that much, or it's old, or there's holes of some sort. So you're going to tell me about that in your discussion. Again, as I mentioned, this is also about a synthesis of knowledge. This is really, really, really important. You want to take the different areas of research, you want to combine them. When you're looking at your citations in this part of the paper, there should be a lot of citations that involve multiple researchers. So if you're looking through your paper and you see that you cited one source, and then in the next paragraph another source, and then another source, you probably need to go back and redo that. If you're synthesizing ideas, then you would have some statements, and then you would have a citation that involved 2 or 3 sources in that one citation, because you're synthesizing those ideas. So that's a really quick and easy way to see if you're on the right track there. look at your citations. They really should be, there should be some combined citations within there. They're not all going to be combined. You're going to have some that are hanging out on their own. That's okay. But most of them will be combined because you're combining ideas or you're contrasting ideas. You might find that researcher A said this, however, researcher B said that. And maybe that's why you need to look at this more, is because the research isn't clear. There are a number of issues that are out there like that have, depending on who you read, it's a really great idea or a really bad idea. So that might be part of your discussion, is maybe there's a really big split, and so you're going to be contrasting what the researchers say. So again, just make sure that you're really compare, contrast, synthesizing, make this information useful. It's not just a list of expansion. You're doing something with the knowledge. All right, I mentioned cohesiveness. Here it is again. Paper flows from one topic to the next. You want the paper to be an easy read, so when I'm reading through this, I can clearly see that you're talking about an issue and there's some sort of segue into the next issue. And it's not necessarily first, second, third, blah, 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 but there's the ideas are connected. A personal note, when I'm writing a paper like this, I like to put the topics on sticky notes. I will take the ideas from my the research that I've done, and I'll put each one on a different sticky note, and I use the wall. I look like one of those crazy people, and I have the sticky notes on the wall, and that way I can pick them up, I can move them around, and I can group them according to where they fit. And I've personally found that to be very effective, and that's something you might want to try, just to really group stuff together and see, oh, okay, this idea is really going to fit in with this next idea, and then I know to put those together on the paper. So just a little aside there, but that might help you as you're doing your work. Formatting and grammar. This is going to be a little longer than some of the other work that you did, so I kept the same number of grammar errors through here, no more than 2, 3 to 5, 6 plus. I left those the same because it's a longer paper, but really watch those citations, watch the punctuation, the bibliography, all of that. You're really going to want to watch that carefully. It's a longer paper, so when you're looking at something a little bit longer, it's easier to have more mistakes. But again, you by this point would have had more practice with the citations. You've done your annotated bibliography, you've gotten feedback from me, so if you've made errors with that, you should have an opportunity to fix them. And be aware you might have additional research. The annotated bibliography only had a requirement of 8 sources, so maybe by the time you got to this point you have 12 or 15 or whatever. So you might have additional citations that were not in the annotated bibliography, so watch those carefully for errors, because I wouldn't have checked them obviously if they weren't in the bibliography. If you have any questions as you're working on this, please let me know. Also be aware Lake State does have a writing lab. The hours might be a little tricky for you if you are student teaching, but there is a writing lab, and they can certainly help you out if this is an area that you struggle with. And also check out the resources that are available on Blackboard. There's a number of APA and writing resources on there. So any questions, let me know.